Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Phil and Ryan, listen up. Thank you. KK, we apologize for the late last check-in. Rye, a lot on the plate, and usually we don't have this for the last check-in. I know the focus is on Xavier tonight. Tell me all about him, but I know you have some news on Aubrey Griffin, and you also have some news on Caroline Ducharme about possible returns this season, as well as you're going to have to remind me what was the other thing that was on the list. Oh, you know what it was. Okay, here we go. Let me read the alert to you, Ryan. Bueckers is out. Paige Bueckers is recovering from knee sprain and is expected to miss UConn's games against Xavier, which is less than 24 hours, I believe, and Georgetown. So that was the ESPN alert received today around 1:30 this afternoon. Ryan Bueckers out. So a lot on our plate for this last check-in, and I appreciate you and everybody coming through on this late Tuesday night.
Yeah, it turned out to be kind of a good thing that we recorded later than what we planned so we can provide these injury updates that we got earlier today. But the Huskies remained at number 7 this week in the AP poll. The top 8 teams actually remain the same. There are now just 5 undefeated teams left in D1. Women's basketball, LSU, Georgia Tech, UCLA, Maryland, and Ohio State. And of course, like you mentioned briefly, the latest news on Paige Bueckers came out earlier today from Gino. She has a knee sprain, nothing torn or severely damaged, which is definitely pretty good news there. Gino said her ankle is fine and he expects her to miss a week. So this game, Xavier and the game against Georgetown on Saturday. And Gino also said Aubrey Griffin is practicing, but there's no timetable yet for her return. And for Caroline Ducharme as well, she's trying to work to get her way back to playing this year, hopefully. And Gino said she's proud, or he's proud of her for being such a great teammate from the sidelines there as she's trying to work her way back. But as for this week, UConn has 2 games, like I mentioned, the first being on Wednesday night at the XL Center against Xavier. Musketeers 0-3 so far in Big East play and have the worst win-loss percentage at 5-9 on the season. They actually started out 4-2 after November, but since then they have a record of just 1-8. And scoring has been really hard to come by for this team. Musketeers' leading scorer is the freshman from Finland, Mary Canavra, averaging 11 points. Senior forward from London, England, Lauren Christie, averaging about 10 and a half points. Xavier also has 4 other players from Spain, one from Slovenia, one from Croatia, and another one from Germany. And most of these players are freshmen or sophomores, so maybe next year or 2 years from now, this team builds up a little chemistry. They're able to keep everybody together. Maybe there'll be a threat up there at the top in the standings. But as for this year, it looks like it's going to be a long rest of the season for Xavier. But yeah, it looks like Paige, of course, will miss both games this week, but hopefully we can get her back for the games next week. But it definitely could have been a lot worse. But as for the rest of the team, I think everybody's been playing fairly well so far in this Big East play. And yeah, hopefully we can keep it rolling tomorrow night.
All right, Ryan. I like that intake. You took a little bit more deeper dive than you usually do. Now we never want to see UConn fall off, period. But we always have that discussion here and there off the record. Might as well say it now. What teams, Ryan? I call you what teams, Ryan? If I mean, please, no UConn fans don't have a heart attack watching this, but if UConn was to, like fall into second place, and that's like a crime, right? In UConn, but if they were to fall into second place in the Big East Conference, what teams, or possibly on the rise in years ahead. So I like that. Yeah, with Xavier being so young, keep an eye on them. But how many times you also pointed out Mary Canerva, the very talented freshman out of Finland. How many times do you see a freshman leading in points on a NCAA team? So, yes, as you know, Ryan, predictions score last like always. Let's go over to some comments. Like, comment, and subscribe. We thank everybody. We love each and every one of you. Ryan, this was from the last video. Bueckers exits early and the Huskies defeat Villanova. Troy Jackson said, my mom said that Paige is fine and she be knowing. Laugh out loud. So I'm going to believe my mom, even though she doesn't watch the game. She just knows how much I love them.
Well, I'm glad she was right. I guess she had a really good intuition. Yeah, I'm glad she was right on that one. Yeah, like I said, it definitely could have been a lot worse. So just Paige missing, hopefully, just these two games this week. I think that's definitely pretty good news.
Yes, it is, Ryan. Winifred said, I was born and raised in Connecticut, Hartford, and Bloomfield. I truly love and appreciate all of my Connecticut family. Go UConn. And Ryan, not to mention, Ryan, this is Ryan's part of the show, right? Not to mention, Ryan, I'm seeing a lot of new names on this podcast every time we come on, and I know that'll make you smile.
Yeah, of course we love to see new names in the comments and yeah, don't forget like, comment, and subscribe as we go into the new year here. Like I said, as we already went into 2025. Yeah, hopefully we can provide a lot more updates and of course we'll have every single game recap as always as we're getting ever so closely already closer to March as we head on into the later half of the season.
Angela Schmoke, Ryan. I don't know if she experienced the game yet. I don't know if it's coming up. I know she told us that she was headed to a UConn game. So hopefully we hear some feedback on how that is. But she did come through a day ago and she said, I hope she is okay. Please, please, please let her be okay. She's been so resilient.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch because I think for Paige, obviously, like I mentioned during the game recap, it's her last season on the team. She's had to deal with a couple injuries before and miss a lot more time than, of course, what she wanted to or anybody else wanted to see her miss. So, yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. And just to see her on the sidelines, obviously not really able to do much and have the ice patch around her knee and ankle and just seeing her so visibly frustrated. But I'm sure, it's definitely a big sigh of relief that nothing really serious injury that she had.
Thank you, everybody, for commenting. We read them all, even though we don't read them all on the air. Jason D'Amico, Ryan, he said, Dear KK Arnold, I hope by some luck you see this post. First, you played fantastic. I see you. Next, respectfully, please listen to this old man and pass this on to the team. Imagine you are a pitcher in baseball, and the opposing pitchers keep hitting your players, and the umps never offering a warning to toss them. And then one day, an opposing pitcher throws a beanball at your best player and hits its mark. If you are on the mound the next half inning, what do you think your next pitch is? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? The reason other teams keep fouling and refs continue to ignore the calls is because they think they can. Page went down and Bosco rolled up rolled up. I'm sorry, Ryan. Rolled up on her leg, and not one coach or player came to her defense. Not a single one. Ask yourself what Diana Taurasi or Sophie Cunningham would have done if that was one of their teammates. Opposing teams need to be more need to be made to understand that cheap shots are not acceptable. You must enforce that boundary or they will never respect you. All the love and respect, Jason. P.S. Phil and Rye, obviously I'm pissed about what happened. No need to comment on this. Peace, fellas.
Yeah, I don't totally d disagree with that, but yeah, I think it's always so hard to say about the calls each game because obviously in every game there's always going to be miscalls or bad calls during the whole game, but as we're of course watching all these games, I do notice a lot of the times that there's a lot of fouls, specifically on Paige that maybe aren't called. And I know before she unfortunately went down with that injury, she was complaining a lot to the referees on a couple of calls that probably should have been called. But, specifically just that incident with Bosco kind of rolling up on her leg there, going for the ball. Obviously, I don't think she meant to do that in any way. That was just a really unfortunate basketball play. But yeah, I mean, maybe if we don't see a lot of these fouls called, maybe we see some spark out of KK or the rest of the players. But yeah, it's always so tough that the some of the calls during the game.
One more on a positive note, Ryan. Not we appreciate Jason's comment, but one more, then we'll get down into predictions. Bon Riley said, I think UConn really worked on ball security since last year. They were really bad with all the turnovers coming from Nika and the freshmen. That's a good idea, Ryan. Look into deeper stats, you and I, in the offseason. Because I know me, I'll take blame for it 100%. I'm always complaining, Ryan, nothing to talk about, nothing to talk. Oh, there's always something to talk about. You just have to dig deep sometimes.
I definitely remember that last year, almost every single last check-in, us, talking about the turnovers and hoping UConn can limit the turnovers, and we really haven't talked about that any this year. Definitely UConn's improved a lot on that and not turning the ball over. I think the offense has been rolling for most of the year, and definitely not allowing the other team to beat us so far during the season, I'd say.
Hey, we remind everybody to bear with us as obviously, Ryan, the backdrop for you and I, not just me, for you and I, scheduled to be done by the end of the month. So bear with us as we work on that. Ryan, who wins this and score prediction?
Well, Paige not playing, I don't think it's going to affect the outcome in this one. So I'm going to say UConn 74, Xavier 50 for the final score.
All right, Ryan, that is a very good score prediction. I'll go Huskies all over Xavier from the XL Center. Mind you, they return home, right? Hartford, Connecticut, XL Center. I'll go UConn 76, Xavier 52. 76-52. Huskies over Xavier. And Ryan, I will see you right back here less than 24 hours for that game recap. Phil and Rye, listen up.